Kapoor as well, our executive editor, joining us on the phone line. Abhishek, not just did China violate the agreement that was reached upon by both sides when high-level military talks took place, but also now coming out with a different narrative of its own to serve its own purpose via its mouthpiece. The Chinese administration constantly saying, and the military as well there, that the Chinese troops own sovereignty over the entire Galwan Valley region. Not just that, once again saying that it was the Indian troops who tried and transgressed. So they really don't have an option, isn't it? And that's why they're resorting to this kind of a narrative now.
Well, Christine, if I could say, they're behaving like a bit of jokers because the Galwan River is named after a man called Ghulam Rasool Galwan who came from Leh. He was an Indian citizen. It was his discovery, and it was part of British India, and the British India was inherited by the government of India. So the Chinese are living in their expansionist la-la land, which comes at a cost of human lives. The strongest possible terms have to be used to, tell them that this stupidity of expansionism, not just in Ladakh, but across the LAC and across the Indian border, and then again in the South China Seas and the East China Seas and Inner Mongolia, everywhere. This Middle Kingdom complex of having an expansionist mindset and encroaching upon territories and encroaching upon sovereignty. Tibet is another example. Claiming Arunachal is another example. This is part of a piece of the larger Chinese design of remaining continuously and particularly in a state of expansion territorially. So, the world is watching, and the COVID crisis has actually showed a different face of China to the world. Till now, everyone thought that it was a benign shop floor for the world, manufacturing goods at cheap. But now a very different face is emerging, and hopefully the world would react in tandem and make sure that the Chinese are restrained from being more stupid in terms of their expansionist designs. Coming back to the Galwan Valley, this is the first time they have come in here, and this is the first time they have come out with statements claiming Galwan Valley. This would be contested. This has been contested with the lives lost yesterday, and this would be contested in the diplomatic talks at all levels. So I believe the Chinese understand that this is not going to go uncontested.
Well, thank you very much, Abhishek. Let me also bring in Dr. Sriram Cholia, Republic contributor, who's joining us live right now on this broadcast. Dr. Cholia, let me begin by asking you, what's the way forward diplomatically as well as militarily, as Abhishek was actually pointing out, that this expansionist policy of China, that has to stop essentially. But on multiple fronts, China has completely failed. And what they are completely forgetting is that you are talking to a new India. And that's one thing that China should bear this in mind before they continue with their expansionist policy that Abhishek was actually pointing out.
Yes, Shravan, China is notorious for three qualities: deception, backstabbing, and propaganda. We are seeing the full form book, it's on display. They are now taunting us, saying we don't have mountain and plateau fighting capabilities. That's what the editor of the Global Times has just tweeted. And on top of it, they claim that India is the aggressor, and that we penetrated into their side, and they basically, quote unquote, again taught us a lesson. So this kind of thing, is, and they are not releasing their casualties as a goodwill gesture, they say, so that people don't, calculate how many soldiers were lost by both sides. This is all part of the, that playbook of deception and propaganda. So, and this is, the nature of communist regimes. So how do we deal with this kind of a sly neighbor, which is powerful in one way, but also does not want a direct fight, but tries to provoke us through these kinds of, wolf warrior kind of behavior, as they call it in China? I think we need to be very clear-eyed. First of all, everyone who is saying that, we have to get along and we are neighbors and this is an interdependent world and all that, they need to wake up from their senses now, to their senses fully. This is a turning point in bilateral relations. We cannot just forget it and say, let's go back to normal. So what is the new normal? The new normal is going to be absolute deterrence. We have to actually increase our deployments all along the LAC, and every point where they are trying to intrude, we also have counter-intrusive capabilities, and we're going to do it. Secondly, the talks can go on. I don't think they're going to resolve anything, because with China, you know how many rounds of boundary talks we've been having for the last 20 years. The third thing is what you mentioned, the diplomatic front. That is where I think we have a great advantage. We are a democracy. We are not a reviled communist dictatorship like China. We have a lot of friends, partners, and de facto allies around the world. All of them need to be brought in especially in the maritime domain, where they're also trying to encroach into our backyard and to try and prevent India's rise through their string of pearls strategy. So China knows that we are a capable country, and we need to really flex it. This time, the point is not only about fighting eye for an eye on the LAC. It's about a rounded strategy which involves maritime, which involves diplomacy, which involves bringing... I'm happy to hear that the US is saying that it is concerned about what has happened and that it is going to consult with us. We should consult Australia, we should be consulting Vietnam, we should be consulting Indonesia, and everybody should be brought on board and given the full facts of what happened. And let people know that China is vulnerable. Right now, they are behaving as if they gave us a bloody nose, when the fact is that we have given it to them. So I think all these, and our propaganda, our counter-offensive in terms of media, what Republic TV is doing, we need to broadcast this worldwide so people realize they cannot play with India and our lives and our soldiers. And this is the moment when national unity is also important. Everyone saying government is failing or government does not have a policy, you line up behind the flag today.
China's strategy, Mr.
Because
Cholia.
we need each and every Indian behind us. We are facing a formidable foe and we need complete unity.
Yes. And talking about China's strategy, Mr. Cholia, I just want to ask you, it seems like China has mastered the art of pushing its interest via grey zone warfare. Now, what does India do next? Because we are trying to deal with this both on military level and a diplomatic level, but China doesn't seem to be getting it. It's at it with its, what we've been discussing, its expansionist approach.
No, I think they are getting it. Look, they have had casualties. For a Communist Party of China which has hidden everything, people don't know how many people died, how many civilians died in the Great Leap Forward under Mao Zedong. People don't know how many people were killed during the Cultural Revolution in China. People don't know how many innocent people were massacred by the Chinese military in Tiananmen Square in 1989. People don't know how many victims are there of COVID-19 in China. Their official claim is bizarre and ridiculous. They say only 4,600 people died from coronavirus in China. And now they are saying we will not reveal how many casualties we had. So I think they are getting the message, at least at the top level. They know how many died. They know the reality on their side. They know that we are not pushovers. They know that they are going to suffer more casualties if they keep doing this to us. So I think, look, at a point of tactical level, when we are eyeball to eyeball, they will face costs, and we are going to continue to raise costs wherever they try to provoke us. I think we are not going to have any kid gloves on. If they are provoking us with rods and sticks and with batons, with nails on them, we will also be sufficiently equipped. This is, it's a big bad world of international politics where there is no rule. China does not play by rules and laws and does not have any kind of civility when it comes to enforcing its claims. It is a rational actor. It does calculate the cost. If we raise the costs of this kind of action through commensurate and proportionate retaliation, they will also step back. It is not a jihadist type of force like Pakistan, which is totally irrational and is ready to lose, thousands of people. So China is risk averse. So it's very simple. The basic fact for our strategy should be raise the risks for them. And we have a mountain strike corps of the army. We can penetrate into their side, and we will do many of these things over time. This is how you deal with a treacherous, deceptive, and propaganda-based, rival. But at the same time, I'm sure they're also consulting with Pakistan. The Chinese will always, historically we know whenever the tensions are high with India or if there is a warlike situation, they try to rope in the Pakistanis and open another front. So we've got to be simultaneously ready. As General Rawat said, there are two fronts where there can be trouble. There can be no slip up in alertness across the LOC either. And the Pakistanis are gloating over the fact that the Indians are suffering casualties at the hand of Chinese. So this is very, very critical moment where we should show our mettle and preparedness and alertness in terms of national security planning. And as I said, diplomatically also we must be on the counter offensive. We cannot let this go and say simply it was a border clash. It is not a border clash. The aggression, the ones committing aggression must be reported and shamed in the eyes of the international public opinion. And this is the right time because people are so angry with China about coronavirus. The whole world is against China. China has lost its soft power, and this clash will further lead to the decline of their image as a responsible actor. If they're a responsible actor, why are they coming with clubs at commander level negotiations? Why are they bringing in? Are they trying to ambush us? If they are going to ambush us like this, what is their credibility? Are they lowering themselves now to the level of Pakistan? So these are the questions we need to keep on putting out on a consistent basis, while at the same time we want de-escalation. We are not interested in war, and nor are the Chinese. But right now what we need to do is show them that they are vulnerable. And I think that's the only way to deal with this kind of foe, because ultimately they respect strength. And they know when to move back. They have de-escalated in the past after, provoking us and calling us names and reminding us of 1962 and all that during Doklam. That, space showed our resolve. So resolve plus counter-attack capabilities here and there, and diplomatic of counter-offensive and
Right.
media waves, info
Dr.
waves. Everybody in the world is asking why are the Indians losing troops, but the Chinese don't seem to be even announcing how
Right.
many troops they've
Dr.
lost.
Cholya.
Let us use our intelligence and our military checkposts and everything on the ground and reveal what they have lost and make it public in a big way. Let them counter it and say it is Indian propaganda.
Right, Dr.
I don't mind
Cholya.
it. India needs counter propaganda. We need counter intelligence to what they are doing and trying to do with us, and I think this is the right time for that.
Right, you've made your point, Dr. Cholya. You've made your point, Dr. Cholya, and that's something that perhaps we need to drive home. That fact that perhaps China cannot continue with the way they have. Their expansionist policy in itself should be exposed. We'll continue with our live coverage on the other side.